So I've upgraded my tenant to Azure AD Premium P2 in order to get access to identity protection. So under the Azure Active Directory, I'm going to go down into security, and we can see that we've been navigated into a AD security section. So the first thing we're going to talk about is identity protection. Now, the concept of identity protection is that your identity services are one of the more vulnerable points to being hacked. So if your user's account and ID and password was to get accidentally released, somebody will be able to log in as that person and get access to your applications and your data. And so Microsoft has sort of been working on this section of making sure that you have enough information around the security of your identity system. For instance, we can see here that I have a security score of only 14%, fairly low security score. And that would be one thing that I could start with to say, what do I need to do to get this closer to 100%? But the first thing we're looking at is this identity protection concept. Now, along the left, now the thing with this account here is I don't have a lot of users and groups and applications. It's a test account, so there's not much data here. But the concept of identity protection is the users themselves and the sign-in attempts and any kind of incidents where we've detected risky sign-ins. So on the left here, we see under report, those three categories of interests. Users, which are just, even if they've never logged in or they don't log in, these are the users that might be at risk. Sign-ins are the actual events, and detections are going to be basically when you've detected a risk that needs to be highlighted. Now you're going to do this through setting a policy. So under the protect section, there are three policies: user policy, sign-in policy, and MFA. So let's look at user policy first. So right now there's no policy. So we haven't got any custom triggers to say that this is a risky type of user. So we've got under the user risk, we're going to try to identify what kind of users are the riskiest types of users. Now you might want to say that we only want this policy to apply to administrators. And so I can select specific individuals or groups. So I can say, like, my own account may be the risky group. Let's say the teachers in this particular case are the users I want to be covered by this policy. And then there's this automatic classification of what risk is. So inside of Azure AD, there's going to be low risk users and high risk users. And so covering these particular users, right now, I'm saying I want to know when there's low risk to the account being compromised. Of course, I can say I want to know only the medium ones, etc. If a user is in that group, so these three teacher users, and there's a medium risk of the account being compromised, what do we want? Well, to give them access is sort of like the allow model. The other thing is we can block their access. So I can say, okay, I don't want this users to be able to log in if their accounts seem to be compromised by some AI model. Or I can allow them to access it, but I can say, you know what, something's weird. We do want you to change your password. So there's this require password change option. Or I can say, I don't even want people to be able to log in if the Azure AD identity protection machine learning model determines that they're a medium risk. So I can turn that on and say save. So now these accounts have got some protection. So that's just users sitting there, whether they're risky or not. Then there's the actual sign-ins, right? So the sign-in policy, this could be they're using a different device, they're in a different geographic location, they're connected to the corporate network or not connected to the corporate network, etc. Time of day, all the different, again, it's a machine learning model to determine these are risky or this is not. So maybe I want this policy to apply to all users. And we kind of want, again, I'm going to set this as medium risk. Now, the reason I only have access to allow them access or deny them access is I don't think we've configured MFA for this tenant yet. So ordinarily, you might want them to just have to verify by text or verify by phone call. So I'm going to say, well, we don't want, we're going to block access to anyone during the sign-in process is medium risk and above. So the last tab here is the MFA Multi-Factor Authentication and Registration Policy. And so you can set it as a policy that requires users to sign up for multi-factor authentication. And we can select it for specific users or all users and say required to sign in for MFA. If I set enforce policy, then that would also take effect, which is going to mitigate any of your identity protection issues. So you can use identity protection basically to set alerts and reports for risky users and risky sign-ins within your Azure Active Directory. Hi guys, this is Scott Duffy from GetCloudSkills.com, and I would love to invite you. I do have courses on all of them, and the links are in the description. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below this video.
Thank you so much for watching. Click the thumbs up button if you like this video. There's the subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos like this as I create them.